What is up, human debris and Gjallarhorn peacekeepers? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode we are returning to iron-blooded orphans. Last time, the workers of the Dork colonies began a revolt, and many of the workers were killed in action. Kudelia learns that Fumitan was a spy, but she still ended up saving Kudelia with her life. This time, Takkadan faces off against a different family from the Seven Stars. Montag helps them out, and they finally make it to Earth. So let's get into this. Takkadan are ready to take on the Arian-Turd fleet when Kudelia speaks to the world. She essentially calls out Gjallarhorn. They were once peacekeepers of the world, but now sees that they are truly trying to create a police state. She says, "I dare you to shoot me down on live TV, bitch." The Audit Bureau moves in and everyone puts down their arms. Watching from afar is Montag and Toto, that Hitler-looking asshole. He mentions that they lay down arms most likely at the orders of the African Union. Takkadan's plans were to dock around Earth orbit and rent a shuttle to head down to Earth. But now Gjallarhorn knows they are coming, so they have to find another way. That is when they are met with Montag. Meanwhile, Ein is considering getting the Alea Vignana system. Galio says that it is subhuman. Ein thinks of himself as subhuman anyways, as he is half Martian, half Terran, and is treated as an other by both cultures. It's like how Japanese people treat Happas as others. Got him, Japan! Sometimes you suck. Montag is representing the Montag Company and wants to help Kudelia with a revolution, but proposes it in the form of business. Nobilis and McMurdo are trying to make moves and take half metal. Remember, half metal is a real thing and is used in electronics like hard disk drives. But here it is used as shielding for Ahab reactors. And in this case, it is Martian half metal, which is what Kudelia is trying to fight for. Martian rights for miners working to get these resources. It seems like the limited amount of half metal is what prevents Ahab reactors from being commonly used outside of the military. These can probably solve everyone's energy problem if they all work together. But this is Gundam, that won't ever happen, bitches. Robots go boom boom. Montag brings Takkadan free weapons and parts, but Nadi says the wisest thing. While Orga and Biscuit are talking to Montag, Mika comes over and says, "Oh hey, it's Chocolate Man." He was able to instantly recognize that this is McGillis. He says that they are working towards a similar goal, and he's trying to snuff out the corruption within Gjallarhorn. They have to keep this quiet, or he will call off the deal with Kudelia. Meanwhile, we meet Carta Issue and her fleet. She is a part of the Issue family, one of the Seven Stars. Her father is the head of the Issue family. Her last name and eyebrows are fitting. Girls got issues. Her fleet is going to steal all of Galio's glory. She is commander of the Earth Orbit Outer Fleet and is a part of the Audit Bureau. Shino and Akihito continue their training in the simulator. Kudelia is not holding it together after the loss of Fumitan. Atra and Mika remind her that she stopped death with just her voice and that Orga can't even do that. Mika does a super effective hug. It looks like Takkadan is going to take Montag's deal, even though this doesn't look like a good one. The team is getting close to Earth. Carta gets a call from Galio. His face is enough to trigger her. "How dare you look at me like that? Screen off." "Get wrecked, Galio. It wouldn't be Gundam without noble families fighting one another." This one's quick to the draw though. Eugene and Shino teases one another, but I wish they would just kiss and get it over with. I know it's Yamagi that ends up liking Shino, but all the sexual energy is between these two bros. Also, that's way too many energy blocks, Shino. You are going to get constipated. We learned through Nepo Baby Galio that Nepo Baby Carta was recently promoted to colonel. She seems to have been hostile towards Galio his whole life. Just ignore her text, bro. Alright bitches, give daddy a hug. Carta sets up a blockade of half-beak class ships in front of Takkadan's flight path. They fire, but then pick up two Ahab reactors. It is Eugene commanding a brewer's ship that they stole, towing Orga's Isaribi behind him. This guy named Chad is not living up to his namesake. Eugene connects his Alea Vignana system to the entire ship. Always carry tissues. Orga goes wide while the brewer's ship takes on most of the attack. It then releases nano-mirror chaff. This is effectively powdered nano-laminate armor that messes with Ahab reactor's sensors. Their sensors are down and Carta has to rely on sight. She mentions that Gjallarhorn already found this material useless in battle, and she proves it by blowing the chaff away with ease. Eugene's ship then attacks this thing. Look, if it's not the Bisco, the Half-Beak, or the Skipjack class ship, the show doesn't seem to be interested in telling us what it is. Eugene rams it and he is going to need more tissues. This was all a distraction to get Kudelia on a shuttle, but they are suddenly attacked by Ein and Galio. Shino and Mika engage while Akihito protects the shuttle. More grazes come in. At the same time, so too does Azzy and Laughter come in the Roe. The STH-05R Roe was originally intended as additional equipment set for the Hyakudins. This is a refit of the turbine's 2 Hyakudins, including Amida's Hyakudin. This is to hide their identity, as the Hyakudins are associated with Teiwaz, and they are trying to keep a low profile on Earth. This is lighter than the Hyakudin and thus more mobile. It has a large booster on the back while under Earth's gravity. Weapons include a short rifle, a heavy club, a 130mm assault rifle, and a revolving grenade launcher. Barbs is rocking the 5th form. The 5th form has a waist booster and adds a reactive armored chest piece. It also has new forearms. These parts were provided by Montauk. The booster is from Ein's Schwab Grace. The reactive armor is specifically to counter the Kimahri's hit-and-run attacks. Orga, Biscuit, and Atra are escorting Kudelia. Shino is trapped by Ein, but he goes to help Galio, who is going off about his pride. Mika's response is, "Awesome. If I had a nickel for every time a Japanese person went off on his pride, I'd be a rich man." Mika shoots his arm motors as a distraction and uses the Kimahri's gun gear lance against himself. However, Ein pushes Galio out of the way and takes the brunt of the attack. Mika says, "Bored now, leaving." Ein says he didn't want Galio to lose his pride. Ugh, we need a pride counter. As Mika catches up with the shuttle, a squad of Grey's Ritters appear. The EBO-6R Grey's Ritter is the sister to the Greys, used by Carta's Outer Earth Orbital Fleet. Carta uses the commander variant of this unit. This mobile suit maintains the old Gjallarhorn peacekeeping tradition and is reflected in its sleeker design. Unlike the battle axe, this Grey's has the Night Blade. It has a head spear sensor and can attach a booster unit if needed. Its only other weapon includes a 120mm rifle, which can be reconfigured into a short rifle. As Mika fights one of the Grey's Ritters, Chocolate Man comes in to help in a red mobile suit. It is the Grimgerde. Grimgerde. I assume it's German, so Grimgerde? I don't know, man. The V08-1228 Grimgerde uses the Valkyria frame, produced at the end of the Calamity War. This fell under the radar because it was overshadowed by the Gundam frame at the time. Only 10 frames were made. One other frame will show up in this series, and the rest are MSVs. This is very light and moves well in space. It will go on to influence the Gyrail series. Weapons include the Valkyria shield, Valkyria blade, and 110mm Valkyria rifle. It also has sub-sensors in the forehead. The shuttle begins breaking through the atmosphere. Chocolate Man bails while Mika handles the rest. He needs to get onto the shuttle with others or he's gonna break up on re-entry. He uses an enemy Night Blade against the Grazer Ritters. He says, I can handle this, and he rides a Graze like a surfboard, taking the brunt of the burn-up on re-entry. No big deal. As Takkadan unloads on Earth, they are met with an older man. Meanwhile, Galio tells the doctor, "You gotta save this dumb man." But it looks like the only way that Ein can live is that if they make him a cyborg. Human cybernetics is seen as grotesque and reminds people on Earth of the Calamity War. We see this in the interaction between Takkadan and Fishman on Earth. Alea Vignana Systems isn't a thing on Earth. Nadi has robot legs, and people look at him weird as well. Also, they don't know what fish is. In space, McGillis tells Galio to turn Ein into a robot. Specifically, he should get the Alea Vignana system. Kudelia finally meets with the old man, who is Arbrow's prime minister. They all eat fish. Mika decides to just eat his Mars palms. The Arbrow prime minister is named Togonosuke Makanai. However, they aren't in Arbrow. They're in Oceanian Federation territory. This is because Gjallarhorn isn't permitted inside this territory. He tells them that there are reforms actually happening in the Dork colonies, thanks to her. This will seem to only hurt the African bloc in the long run. Kudelia gets to the point and talks about deregulating half-metals on Mars. The reason he is in Oceania is because he was forced to resign due to corruption and exiled here. So there is nothing he could really do for her. They feel they came all this way for nothing, but there may be another way. Makanai wants to hire Takkadan to take them to Arbrow as an election is coming up, but this isn't wise. The incumbent has support for Gjallarhorn, and Makanai won't be welcomed. Kudelia says that Takkadan's job is fulfilled, and they don't have to be burdened by her anymore. They get a call from Eugene, Dante, and Chad. They're still alive. An Oceanian colony is harboring them in the turbines. Orga wants to go big with Takkadan, but Biscuit has had enough and is ready to quit. He wants to keep this small and local to Mars. We learn that Eugene gave Biscuit a private message. It seems his brother committed suicide. Orga decides that they are taking on Makanai's job. Meribit tells him about Biscuit's brother. Atra gives Kudeli a fish, but Mika says, "Hey man, don't overlook the Mars palm. Your poops will never be the same." Orga tells Meribit that Biscuit always went with his plans, so him not joining is off to him. That is when Makanai contacts them. Gjallarhorn is demanding that they are handed over regardless of Oceanian territory. Karda issue and her fleet prepare for an attack. And that will do it for this episode. What happens when two regulatory bureaus face off with one another, but they also have mobile suits? Who gives regulatory commissions weapons of war? What will Takkadan face in our brow? Next time, we will conclude the first season of Iron-Blooded Orphans. Karda will relentlessly attack all the way till they make it to Edmonton for the parliamentary session. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember to try the fish sometime. Peace.